I was 35 years old, a successful attorney with my own practice, when my life took an unexpected turn. Jessica and I had been married for 3 years, living what I thought was the perfect life. We had signed a prenuptial agreement before our wedding mainly because of my family wealth and business assets. After years of trying to have a baby, Jessica finally announced she was pregnant. I was overjoyed, thinking our family was finally complete. Then came the bombshell. One night over dinner, Jessica suggested we revoke our prenup to build a real family without financial barriers between us. Before I tell you the shocking story of how I discovered the truth and what I did about it, let me know where you are watching from, and hit that subscribe button so you do not miss out on important life lessons like this one. Life with Jessica began like a dream come true. I met her at a charity fundraiser 4 years ago. She stood across the room in a blue dress that matched her eyes, teaching children how to make origami cranes. I was immediately drawn to her warmth and genuine smile. Jessica worked as a kindergarten teacher at Pinewood Elementary, passionate about early childhood education. Our courtship was everything I had hoped for. We enjoyed romantic dinners, weekend getaways to coastal bed and breakfasts, and long conversations about our dreams for the future. When I proposed, 6 months later, Jessica accepted with tears of joy. My parents, who had built a successful real estate development company, suggested a prenuptial agreement. They had seen too many business associates lose everything in divorces. Initially, Jessica seemed hurt by the suggestion, but after several conversations, she agreed it was a practical decision given my family business involvement and inheritance. Our wedding was spectacular, held at my family estate with 200 guests. Jessica looked radiant walking down the aisle. We honeymooned in Italy for 3 weeks, visiting Rome, Florence, and the Amalfi Coast. Life could not have been more perfect. The first 2 years of marriage were blissful. We purchased a beautiful 4-bedroom colonial house in a prestigious neighborhood, conveniently located between my law office and her school. We renovated the kitchen together, painted the walls ourselves, and planted a garden in the backyard. I often came home to find Jessica preparing dinner while listening to jazz, our favorite evening ritual. After our second anniversary, we decided it was time to start a family. Jessica stopped taking birth control, and we eagerly anticipated a quick pregnancy. Months passed without success. At first, we maintained our optimism, but after a year of trying, frustration set in. Jessica began tracking her ovulation cycles meticulously. Our once spontaneous, intimate life became scheduled around fertility windows, robbing it of joy and turning it into a chore. I supported Jessica in every way possible. We consulted Dr. Howard Peterson, one of the top fertility specialists in the country. The process was emotionally draining and expensive. Jessica underwent numerous tests, took fertility medications with uncomfortable side effects, and we even discussed in vitro fertilization. Throughout this challenging period, I remained patient and understanding, attending every appointment and consoling Jessica after each disappointment. Around this time, subtle changes began appearing in Jessica. She started coming home later from work, explaining she had parent-teacher conferences or staff meetings. At first, I thought nothing of it, appreciating her dedication to her students. Then came other changes. She purchased new clothes, updated her wardrobe from comfortable teacher attire to more stylish outfits. She changed her hair from the long brown waves I loved to a shorter, highlighted style. Her makeup became more noticeable, particularly when leaving for work. I also noticed Jessica constantly texting and smiling at her phone. When I would enter a room, she would quickly put the phone down or switch screens. If I asked who she was texting, she would casually mention a coworker or her friend Amanda. Our physical relationship, which had already suffered from the pressure of trying to conceive, became even more distant. Jessica often claimed she was too tired or stressed about fertility treatments. Then came the announcement that changed everything. After attending her school staff party one Friday evening, Jessica came home glowing with excitement. She sat me down in our living room, took my hands in hers, and with tears streaming down her face, told me she was pregnant. I was stunned, overcome with emotion. We had been told by Dr. Peterson that we would need to continue treatments, possibly moving to more intensive options. When I mentioned this, Jessica dismissed it as a medical miracle. She was so elated that I pushed aside my questions. when I gently suggested a paternity test, just as a formality given our fertility challenges. Jessica seemed offended. She accused me of not trusting her and ruining this special moment, wanting to preserve her happiness and our relationship. I apologized and dropped the subject. A week later, Jessica brought up the prenuptial agreement. We were having dinner at our favorite Italian restaurant, when she casually mentioned that now that we were starting a family, we should remove all barriers between us. She suggested revoking our prenup as a symbol of our complete trust and commitment to our family. Something about her timing felt off, but I smiled and said I would think about it. As the weeks passed, my initial joy about the pregnancy was increasingly overshadowed by growing unease. Small inconsistencies kept nagging at me. One morning while Jessica was in the shower, her phone lit up with a text notification on the kitchen counter. She had forgotten to lock it, something she had become meticulous about in recent months. The message preview showed it was from Amanda, best friends forever, but the content made my stomach drop. It read, "I miss you too, baby. Cannot wait to feel your body against mine tomorrow." I placed the phone back exactly where it had been, my mind racing. Amanda had been Jessica's friend since college, and I had met her several times at dinner parties. This message did not sound like something between female friends. It sounded like a lover. That evening I contacted Paul Donnelly, a private investigator recommended by a colleague from my law firm. I felt terrible invading Jessica's privacy, but something was clearly wrong. Paul agreed to follow Jessica for a week and document her activities. The waiting period was excruciating. I maintained a normal facade at home while my mind constructed countless scenarios. 7 days later, Paul delivered his findings. Jessica had not been attending extra staff meetings or parent-teacher conferences. Instead, she had been regularly visiting an apartment complex across town. Paul had photographed her entering the building and identified the apartment belonged to a man named Mark Johnson. Further investigation revealed Mark was the principal at Jessica's school. The photos showed them embracing, intimately kissing in his car, and entering his apartment together on multiple occasions. The evidence was undeniable, but I needed to understand the full extent of their deception. While Jessica was at her regular Saturday brunch with friends, I accessed her email account. We had shared passwords early in our marriage, and she had apparently forgotten to change hers. What I found was devastating. Buried in her email drafts folder were messages between her and Mark discussing the pregnancy. They confirmed my worst fears. Mark was the biological father of the baby, and they had been planning to pass the child off as mine. One message from Jessica read, "Glenn has no idea. He thinks the fertility treatments finally worked. We just need to get him to cancel the prenup, and then I can file for divorce in a year. With no prenup, I will get half of everything plus child support." Mark had replied, "This is perfect, babe. Remember to use the baby as emotional leverage. Glenn is so excited about being a father he will agree to anything now. We just need to time it right. Get him to revoke the prenup before he has any suspicions." Another exchange revealed Jessica had already consulted with a divorce attorney about the best way to invalidate our prenuptial agreement. She wrote to Mark, "My lawyer says if Glenn willingly revokes the prenup, especially because of the pregnancy, it would be completely legal. Once that happens, we are set for life. You can leave your wife. I will divorce Glenn, and we can be together with plenty of money." Mark seemed eager to accelerate their plan, responding, "Do not wait too long. The sooner you get him to sign the revocation, the better. I am getting tired of sneaking around, and Patricia is getting suspicious too. I want us to be a real family." The discovery left me emotionally shattered. I could not eat or sleep properly for days. My work performance suffered as I struggled to concentrate on cases. The betrayal cut deeper than anything I had ever experienced. Not only was Jessica cheating, but she and her lover had calculated a scheme to defraud me of my assets while using a child that was not even mine, as emotional manipulation. I needed advice, but was too ashamed to speak with my family. Instead, I confided in Thomas Williams, my closest friend since law school and a trusted colleague. We met at a quiet bar far from our usual haunts to ensure privacy. After hearing my story and reviewing the evidence, Thomas advised caution. "Do not confront her yet," he said. Jessica does not know you are aware of the affair or the plot. That gives you an advantage. Gather more evidence, consult with a divorce attorney, and develop a strategy. If you confront her now, she might destroy evidence or accelerate her plans. Thomas was right. I needed to be strategic rather than emotional. The lawyer in me knew the importance of preparation and timing in any case, and this was the most important case of my life. Following Thomas' advice, I secured the services of Sarah Williams, one of the top divorce attorneys in the state, known for her expertise in handling prenuptial agreements and infidelity cases. In our first meeting, I presented all the evidence I had collected. Sarah was confident our prenup would hold up in court, especially given the documented attempt to defraud me. We need more information about their relationship timeline, Sarah advised. The longer the affair has been going on, the stronger our case. I began a careful investigation. Without alerting Jessica, I spoke with several of her co-workers under the pretext of planning a surprise anniversary party. Through casual conversations, I learned that rumors about Jessica and Mark had been circulating at the school for over a year. One teacher, Diane, reluctantly shared that she had seen them together at a hotel during a teachers' conference in another city 15 months ago. Armed with this information, I hired Paul to dig deeper into Mark's background. He discovered Mark was married to Patricia Johnson, a pediatrician, and they had 2 children. Mark had a history of workplace relationships, having previously been involved with a teacher at another school, before being promoted to principal at Pinewood Elementary. Most importantly, Paul found financial records showing Mark had recently consulted with a real estate agent about properties in another state, suggesting he was planning to relocate after securing funds from Jessica's potential divorce settlement. Throughout this investigation, I maintained a normal relationship with Jessica at home. It was the most challenging acting performance of my life. I smiled through her prenatal appointments, discussed baby names, and even started decorating a nursery, all while knowing the child was not mine, and my wife was plotting to take half of everything I had worked for. 3 weeks after my discovery, Jessica made her move. She prepared a romantic dinner at home, complete with candles and my favorite dishes. After dessert, she brought out a folder containing legal documents. "I have been thinking about our future as a family," she said, taking my hand. "This baby changes everything, Glenn. I want us to start fresh, with complete trust in each other." She slid the documents toward me. "These papers will revoke our prenuptial agreement. It is a symbol of my commitment to you and our child. We do not need legal barriers between us anymore." I glanced at the documents, recognizing them as a standard prenup revocation form. Jessica had already signed her portion. All that remained was my signature. I forced a smile, trying to keep my hand from trembling with anger. "This is a big decision," I said carefully. "I appreciate the gesture, but let me review these with my attorney first. It is a standard practice." Jessica's face fell slightly. "I thought you would be excited," she said, her voice tinged with disappointment. "This is for our family, Glenn. Do you not trust me?" I reassured her that it was merely procedural and promised to review the documents soon. She seemed unsatisfied but did not push further that evening. Later, I heard her on the phone in the bathroom, speaking in hushed tones. I could only assume she was updating Mark on the delay in their plan. The next day, Sarah confirmed what I already knew. The documents were designed to completely nullify our prenuptial agreement, leaving me vulnerable in a divorce. She advised me that it was time to confront Jessica, but with all legal preparations in place first. We filed for divorce on grounds of adultery, with all evidence properly documented and submitted to the court under seal. That evening, I returned home earlier than usual. Jessica was surprised to see me quickly ending a phone call as I walked in. I suggested we talk about the prenup revocation. Her face lit up, assuming I was ready to sign. I sat her down in our living room, the same room where she had announced her pregnancy. With a calm I did not feel, I placed a folder on the coffee table between us. "Before I sign anything, I need to discuss something with you," I began. "I know about Mark." Jessica's expression froze. "What about Mark?" she asked, attempting to sound confused. "I know he is the father of your baby," I said evenly. "I know about your affair, your plan to revoke the prenup, and your intention to divorce me and take half of my assets." Jessica laughed nervously. That is ridiculous. Where did you get such a crazy idea? Without a word, I opened the folder and spread out the photographs Paul had taken of her and Mark together. Next came printouts of their email exchanges, including the explicit discussions about their scheme. Finally, I placed a copy of my divorce petition on top. Jessica's face drained of color as she realized the extent of my knowledge. Her demeanor transformed instantly. "You had no right to spy on me," she shouted, standing up. "Those emails were private." "This is invasion of privacy." I remained seated, maintaining my composure. "When you plotted to defraud me of millions and pass another man's child off as mine, you lost any right to privacy," I replied. Jessica's strategy shifted quickly from denial to blame. "This would never have happened if you had been more attentive," she accused, tears forming. "You were always working. Mark actually listens to me, cares about my needs. We fell in love, Glenn. These things happen." When I did not respond with anger as she expected, Jessica became more desperate. "Fine," she snapped. "So I had an affair. But if you think you are getting out of this marriage without paying, you are wrong. I will make sure everyone knows you abandoned your pregnant wife. Your reputation will be ruined. I will take you for everything you have." I had anticipated this reaction. I remained calm as I explained the situation. "The divorce papers have already been filed with evidence of your adultery and conspiracy to commit fraud," I said. "The prenup will be enforced, which means you get nothing beyond what you brought into the marriage. Additionally, I have included a countersuit for emotional distress and attempted fraud." Jessica's face contorted with rage. "You cannot do this to me. What about the baby?" "A paternity test will confirm what we both already know," I answered. "Mark will be responsible for his child, not me. And speaking of Mark, he has also been served with legal papers today, naming him in the divorce proceedings. His wife has received copies of all relevant evidence as well." At this, Jessica collapsed onto the sofa, the full weight of her failed scheme crashing down on her. Her careful plans were unraveling rapidly. Through tears, she attempted one last manipulation. "Please, Glenn, we can work this out," she pleaded. "I made a terrible mistake. I still love you." I stood up, gathering the documents. "You have 24 hours to move out," I said firmly. "This house is solely in my name as specified in our prenup. I have arranged for a hotel room for you for 1 week. After that, you are on your own." As I walked toward the door, Jessica called after me, her voice now filled with venom. "You will regret this, Glenn. No one will ever love you like I pretended to." I turned back one last time. "Actually, Jessica, I think I will be just fine without your kind of love." Good luck explaining to Mark why his careful plan failed so spectacularly. The legal proceedings moved swiftly, largely due to the overwhelming evidence and Jessica's reluctance to face public exposure in court. The judge upheld our prenuptial agreement, entirely dismissing Jessica's claims that it should be invalidated because of the pregnancy. The paternity test confirmed what I already knew. Mark was indeed the biological father of the child. Jessica received nothing beyond her personal possessions and the car that was registered in her name. She was ordered to pay a portion of my legal fees due to the attempted fraud. The ruling was a complete vindication of my position and a crushing defeat for Jessica and Mark. Mark faced his own consequences. After Patricia filed for divorce, the school board launched an investigation into his conduct. Having an affair with a teacher under his supervision constituted a serious ethical violation. He was terminated from his position as principal, his professional reputation in tatters. Last I heard, he and Jessica were living in a small apartment, their grand plans for financial security completely destroyed. The aftermath was challenging in other ways. Initially, some friends questioned my decision to divorce my pregnant wife, not knowing the full story. Out of respect for privacy and a desire to move forward, I chose not to broadcast the details widely. However, as rumors circulated, I authorized Thomas to discreetly share the truth with our closest friends. Support gradually solidified around me as people learned what had really happened. Jessica's parents, whom I had always gotten along with, called to apologize profusely. They had no idea what their daughter had done and were horrified by her actions. I appreciated their gesture, but maintained a respectful distance. Some wounds needed time to heal. In professional settings, I maintained composure and dignity. When clients or colleagues inquired about my divorce, I simply explained that irreconcilable differences had made the marriage untenable. My measured response earned respect, even admiration from those who knew fragments of the truth. Rather than becoming bitter, I was determined to handle the situation with integrity. The emotional recovery was more difficult than the legal battle. I struggled with trust issues and questioned my judgment. How had I missed the signs? Could I ever trust someone again? The betrayal left deep scars that would not heal quickly or easily. On the advice of Thomas, I began seeing Dr. Rachel Summers, a psychologist specializing in betrayal trauma. Our weekly sessions provided a safe space to process my emotions and develop healthy coping mechanisms. Dr. Summers helped me understand that Jessica's deception was not a reflection of my worth or judgment, but rather of her own character flaws and choices. I threw myself into work, taking on challenging cases that required my complete focus. The distraction was therapeutic, and my professional success brought a sense of satisfaction. I won a major corporate litigation case that significantly raised my profile in the legal community. The demanding workload filled my days but left evenings painfully empty. Gradually, I began reconstructing my personal life. I reconnected with old hobbies that had fallen by the wayside during my marriage. I picked up my guitar after years of neglect, finding solace in music. Weekend hiking trips in the mountains restored my connection with nature and provided perspective. I joined a book club, appreciating intellectual discussions that had nothing to do with law or relationships. My social circle expanded as I made a conscious effort to engage with new people. I accepted invitations I would have previously declined and organized gatherings at my home. These connections reminded me that meaningful relationships were still possible even if romantic entanglements seemed daunting. 13 months after my divorce was finalized, I met Laura at a legal conference in Chicago. She was a corporate attorney from Seattle presenting on intellectual property law. Her intelligence, humor, and straightforward manner caught my attention immediately. Unlike Jessica, Laura had built her own successful career and carried herself with genuine confidence. Our first date was a simple coffee meeting that stretched into dinner as conversation flowed effortlessly. I found myself laughing genuinely for the first time in ages. Laura had experienced her own divorce years earlier and understood the caution with which I approached new relationships. We took things slowly, building a foundation of honest communication and mutual respect. When I eventually shared the full story of my marriage and its disastrous end, Laura listened without judgment. Her response was compassionate but pragmatic. She did not offer empty platitudes or make promises she could not keep. Instead, she thanked me for trusting her with my story and assured me that honesty would always be central to our relationship. As my life recalibrated, I found unexpected purpose in helping others facing similar situations. Through a colleague, I began offering pro bono legal consultations to people dealing with complex divorce cases involving deception or fraud. Sharing my expertise became a way to transform my painful experience into something constructive. The journey from betrayal to recovery taught me profound lessons about resilience and self-worth. I learned that while trust is precious, blind trust can be dangerous. I discovered that sometimes the most painful endings clear the path for new and better beginnings. Most importantly, I realized that our response to betrayal defines us more than the betrayal itself. Today, my relationship with Laura continues to deepen. We recently purchased a weekend cabin near a lake, creating new memories untainted by past disappointments. I no longer define myself as a victim of deception, but as someone who had the courage to stand up for himself and rebuild his life on a foundation of truth. Have you ever faced betrayal that forced you to completely rebuild your life? How did you find the strength to move forward? Share your experiences in the comments below. If my story resonated with you, please hit like and subscribe to hear more real-life experiences that might help you navigate your own challenges. Remember that even in our darkest moments, we have the power to write the next chapter of our story. Thank you for listening, and I wish you the strength to face whatever challenges come your way with dignity and resolve.